right, good evening. My name is Marjorie Jameson. I'm here with,
I'm Frank Gerard Godlewski, and we are trustees of the Grover Cleveland Birthplace and Presidential Library.
we're here tonight to talk about the square foot kitchen garden, historic kitchen garden that we've proposed that will enhance not only the attractions at the birthplace, but also increased awareness and community involvement.
Yes, because when we visit historic houses, typically there is a kitchen garden feature that has all of the herbs that the family of the household used for their for their kitchen purposes. So, but what we're going to do is Marjorie and I are going to implement a program called Square Foot Gardening, and it's a method of gardening in a very small space, and it's also used for school children as a learning tool to learn how to garden in a small space. So this is an idea that Marjorie and I have to sort of use the typical kitchen garden idea as a learning tool for the birthplace.
Okay, so why don't I share my screen now and we'll show you our presentation. So the members of our committee are, as I said, myself, Frank, and also Dr. Beverly Krafasi. And this is a typical square foot garden that we're proposing. As Frank said, other houses in New Jersey and across the United States, historic homes have kitchen gardens, historic kitchen gardens that would have plants, herbs, vegetables, and cutting flowers that would be typical of the time period. And like Olden House at Princeton, Holly House at Rutgers, and others across the state, and as I said, United States. Crane, the Crane House in Montclair is another one that have small gardens that are also learning tools for STEM schools, school visitors, as well as local garden clubs and the general public who are interested in gardening and historic gardens.
And we'd also like to thank the generous donations and the people that are supporting us and doing the project with us. We'd like to thank the Eagle Rock Crane Town chapter of the DAR, who have generously donated funds to acquire plantings for our garden. And we'd like to thank Bob Markey of the New Jersey Garden Club and liaison with the YMCA Foundation for all of his support, who's going to be guiding us through the implementation of the square foot garden. And many thanks to the Square Foot Garden Foundation, who have come up with this program and are going to be working with us very closely.
So our plan is to have 4 by 8 foot beds and set in either a pea gravel path or bark mulch. A bark mulch was used during the Cleveland's time, but typically it could be either. And each bed is 32 square feet and would be able to accommodate a variety of typical kitchen herbs and vegetables and cutting plants.
So with the square foot garden proposal, what is a square foot garden? So A, you can grow a lot more in a much smaller space. B, you only need 2 to 3 seeds per square. C, watering is more direct, therefore you waste less water. D, weeds are easy to control. E, it is more organized than the typical garden. And lastly, the plants are healthier.
So it's a win all around, I think.
And it's also a way of teaching school children how to garden efficiently.
Now, as far as outreach for this, we'll be putting a video presentation together. It'll be available on our website, on our YouTube, our Facebook, and also as a kiosk on a video at the visitor center. So it speaks to all learning styles, and it's a large community draw, and it will be a great asset, I believe, to the site.
And as I had mentioned before, Bob Markey of the Garden Club of New Jersey, Director of Youth Programs, is also liaison with the YMCA USA Foundation and the Square Foot Gardening Foundation. And I am the liaison with Bob for the garden clubs of Northern New Jersey, for example, the Essex Fells Garden Club, who will be participating. Then there's the Rutgers University, Rutgers Gardens at the Holly House, who have their Square Foot Garden program. The Bruce Crawford, New Jersey program leader, who is the director, Bruce is the director of the Home and Public Horticulture Program. And then Doug Fisher from the Secretary of New Jersey Department of Agriculture will be contacted and helping us out with while moving forward. And then the Square Foot Gardening Foundation and the Grover Cleveland Birthplace and Presidential Library will be attaining support from the Square Foot Garden Foundation, the Bartholomew family, and the Eagle Rock and Cranetown chapter of the DAR.
Among others. On some of the plants that we'll be planting, we have found direct evidence in an excerpt from Grover Cleveland, a study in Courage, of several plants that were planted in the Cleveland's kitchen garden. There were phlox, larkspur, bouncing bet, hollyhocks, asters, and pinks. But some of these are, and other plants that are historic and we would like to plant, are very tasty to the animals that live in the area. So we will also need to be putting a fence around the garden. Here are some of the other historic plants that we have researched that would have been in their garden.
And they're all
And
that period.
yeah, they're all period. And then
Yep.
this is an example, a close-up example of a square foot garden.
And notice that it is a planter element that's placed on top of the ground level. And this is important for us for our historic site, because we would not be allowed to plant and disturb any archaeological evidence or material that would be underground. So this is perfectly within the etiquette of how to plant at a historic site.
This is a black and white rendering of what it might look like with the 4 beds, a central water feature, and then the cutting flowers around the central water feature and a fence. And then this is a little bit more realistic view of what the beds might look like. And this is the pea gravel version of the pathways. So that concludes our presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. This will be available on our Facebook page and the Grover Cleveland website. Any questions, feel free to call either Frank or myself or the Birthplace and leave a contact information where we can get back to you. Good night. Yes?
Oh, good night. And also just to summarize also that, typically when you visit a house museum, there is a herb garden, kitchen garden feature. And our idea to implement a square foot garden learning tool for children, school children, brings another sort of dynamic uh, program into the into the site, and we're really looking forward to it, and we'll be sharing it. The learning sessions, we'll be recording them on video and sharing them on our website and with the local schools. So we hope you'll enjoy it.
Definitely. All right. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Good night.